these guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God. God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Lee to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Looks to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashume, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
It's a wonderful, wonderful circuit. You are going to struggle to find many places that create better racing action. This place, for a while, was the home of finishes. The grand finale to championships has created some of the greatest legacies that racing has had to offer. But this place today is the mid part of the season. It's round 7 of 13. And of course, it is the Bowl of Brazil. We are in Sao Paulo at Interlagos with qualifying currently underway at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, here on SimSpeed TV for your iRacing Grand Prix Series. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Cam Dance as Ben Fuller is top of the timing stands at the moment. 1:11.206 says that he is the best over 8 minutes of qualifying, 2 laps available to them. And if they want an official championship crown from iRacing, this is their last chance to do so in the Williams Toyota FW31. Cam, the announcement earlier this week, they're going back to the Macca.
Yeah, they certainly are. It was quite a surprise for pretty much the entire service, to be honest. No one really anticipated that they were actually going to change back to the car, but apparently it's had a massive overhaul with a number of changes and possibly some speculation around what that could have been. But nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of how that car's going to make or break the series. And, well, we just got to give this car a good send-off.
What is needed for this one, but what is key here is that the times at the moment, Ben Fuller's top of the timing boards for the moment. No real worries at this stage. He's a third of the second, clear from Danilo Sanfilippo in second place, which is absolutely fantastic. Ray Griffioen slowing up. His time's not going to be better. There's Tamas Shane currently in 12th position right now. 2 splits of 26 at the moment, but Joel Dickinson, I do believe, has just jumped to 11th.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Mark Usher currently into P3 with the lap that he's done. So the order's quite shaken up. There's a few drivers here that we haven't really expected. Benjamin Lindsay, one of those, and he's currently sitting in P4. So would probably suggest that we've possibly lost Spirit, I'd say, but Mark Usher coming across the stripe now to finish his second flying lap. Is it going to be an improvement? It is, but it's only going to be P2 with Ben Fuller being at 2, just over 2 tenths, nearly 3 tenths over Mark Usher, clear at the moment. So it's clearly still a lot of pace in that TW Engineering car of Ben Fuller. Benjamin Lindsay currently on screen, so P4 is going to be doing his second lap now. What a big moment there for Lindsay coming through down the hill, nearly losing the rear end. Very easy to do, but coming up towards the hill. It's looking like it's probably not going to be a good lap for Lindsay, unfortunately, based on how that mistake's happened. But nevertheless, he's going to finish the lap here to complete his second flying lap.
There over the line. Good time. Stays in 4th place though, and that's not going to be ideal in terms of this second row, I should say at this point, Cam. But what's key about this is that Benjamin Lindsay is a pro caliber driver, as John Pat Kelly crosses the line, remains in 10th place. But that pro caliber of driver, Cam, how is that going to factor into performances today? Formerly part of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and someone like you, of course, also a pro driver in the iRacing sphere once upon a time. It's a case of Benjamin Lindsay getting back into the swing of things, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, probably would be. I mean, I haven't really seen the name in actually quite some time myself, but he's very, very capable, like you said, of a driver in terms of out there. Probably one of the best in terms of this field that these drivers would be matching up against. I mean, being in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is a feat in its own. So to have a driver that was formerly in that series on the grid here today is really, really quite something. And the fact that you've got someone like Ben Fuller, Marcus Sanfilippo all ahead of him is just unheard of, and it's really goes to show that this field is actually quite competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to get ourselves over to qualifying in just a moment's time. I do believe we have just lost the feed for a moment here, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll try and get that back. Yes, we do at the moment. So we're just about 15 seconds away. Benjamin Lindsay getting practice in, but it will be on pole position Ben Fuller on a 1:11 flat with Mark Usher alongside by only a quarter of a second. Danilo Sanfilippo starts 3rd with Benjamin Lindsay 4th, Jody Mills 5th, and Steve Giori going from 6th place then with qualifying over. 7th will be Adam Webb with Clayton McLeod in 8th. Then it's Alex Ahoya starting from 9th position, and rounding out the top 10 will be John Pat Kelly.
And Ben Goyette on 11th, and Tamashane in 12th, 13th, Joel Dickinson, Jacob Oberslake in 14th, Griffey Owen rounding out the top 15, Fitzpatrick in 16th, Kent Nielsen in 17th, 18th is Strutinsky, David Cummill in 19th, rounding out the top 20, Amir Tonoi Carr.
Yeah, and Daniel Carr will be trying to do his very best. Matthias Eckstein starts 21st with Edu Villa in 22nd. Then you got the Grip TV car of Robert Plumley next to Christoph Montz in 24th. And the final row has Tobias Rona and Rogério Galego there at the very, very back from Club Brazil. Did not set a representative lap time. Worth talking about here today that the grid slots are slightly back from what you'd normally see from a Formula One style grid. There are about 3 rows of empty space, and you talk about that. That is a flat and level start for those near the front of that one. Those on the front row will have an uphill start for this one. You look back 5-6 rows to the likes of Tam Hashane and Joel Dickinson and Ben Goyette and those sorts of people in the mid-pack, they're going to have a downhill start today, so they're going to get a better launch off of the line if they can get everything gathered up together. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can like, share, and subscribe to SimSpeed TV for more amazing racing. If you head to the iRacing Esports Network in just a few hours' time, 12 hours, we'll be live with some fantastic Scops racing action from Virginia International Raceway. But let's focus to the here and now. Let's focus to this magnificent circuit of Interlagos, a home of many homes, a memory bank, a treasure trove, and one which many people want to find their pot of gold. They want to find their memories here around this place. And the one person that needs to be beaten is the TQ Engineering car, over 48 laps worth of racing action. Ben Fuller on the pole position, Mark Usher there on the inside. This is going to be a mega run here towards turn number 1. Let's get ourselves ready, let's get ourselves going then, as we get ourselves underway here from this fantastic circuit. Already to the outside, Danilo Sanfilippo trying to look here and get himself away past Mark Usher. He's having none of it. Benjamin Lindsay immediately having to defend here early on, as that is Jody Mills trying to find potentially a way through and couldn't quite do so in the early goings. It's nice and clean except for maybe one vehicle who had a lot of smoke come off, and yes, there is one there in the walls. They're just a little bit hidden by the timing tower, and I didn't quite catch who that was. That was Adam Webb in the Grip TV car.
Yeah, just lost the rear end on the acceleration and exit of the corner, unfortunately. Didn't actually hit the wall by the looks of it. If he did, it was only very minor, so very lucky to get away with that. But nevertheless, it's really, really been an interesting start so far.
Oh, and Giori's had a moment here. They're at the right-hander, just out of Ferradura, so has to drop all the way to the back of the field. The Californian, part of the TQ engineering team, runs into a whole world of hurt. We get a Motum simulation replay to have a little look at how that one all came about. On the brakes, oh, contact with, I believe that was Tamashane there, who had that little bit of contact. Could have been Obraslack there as well, and just like that, around they went, and now time to continue on in this one. Sam Fitzpatrick, someone you're definitely no stranger to, trying to get a run through Archibankadas and all the way to the center S, turn number 1, down the inside, looking for the top 10, and just about is going to get it.
Yeah, very, very textbook move there by Sam to get up the inside of Joel Dickinson. And Dickinson's going to come under pressure from Ray Graffiel and is just behind him now and is going to be sitting right in the draft and is closing rapidly, actually. He's going to pull out to the inside to go up the inside of Dickinson, but not quite going to be close enough.
Absolutely, and that's going to be crucial here as drivers try and find themselves a way through. Obraslack there, who's a little bit further down the order now, trying to find a way back past Jan Stratinsky for 13th place, having absolutely none of it. Ben Fuller at the front, 1.5 seconds clear. You look maybe down to Tobias Rona here, 20th position. The mid to late pack all in a big scrap, and I just saw Obraslack there under a bit of pressure from Emir Tanyol-Kar, trying to find a way through, but trying to go around the outside of the Bico de Pato is always a tough place, and again, not quite there.
Yeah, just not quite there. A lot of drivers really getting caught out by this, the way this track is, of how you can hold the outside, or the inside doesn't quite provide as good of a run as you'd expect. And this is a nice long train of cars with Stratinsky at the head of it, but he's going to have Oberslack closing up rapidly in the draft down the front straight. Oberslack's going to look to the inside of Stratinsky here as they head into turn 1, and that's going to be an easy move.
Absolutely best defense, the good offense, and Obraslack is through into the position. I want to keep an eye on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the moment, who are all nose to tail, but Mark Usher is having to play a mega defensive job at the moment with Danilo Sanfilippo. Look at the gap. We're on lap 2.5, so to speak, and the gap's already up to 3.1 seconds here. So Mark Usher, with all the work to do, has Danilo Sanfilippo, someone he knows very well, and also more dramas here as that's Obraslack around at Desquita del Lago there that we've just managed to catch. So we'll get a Motum simulation replay of that. Benjamin Lindsay was also in that train 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But here's the little look. Stratinsky trying to go down to the inside, and I think there's a bit of contact there. Stratinsky, I think, just ran it deep.
Yeah, looked like he just ran a little bit deep, looked to the inside initially, and then just unfortunately outbraked himself and ran into the back of Oberslack. Both cars probably going to have some form of aero damage, unfortunately, so they're going to drop down the order. But that battle at the front of the field for 2nd place, that's really heating up, and Ben Fuller's just absolutely checked out. A 13.4 last time by for Usher, a 12.3 for Ben Fuller.
1.1 seconds then. That's the difference maker as Benjamin Lindsay gets close. Joel Dickinson trying to find a way through for 12th place, but that's Ray Griffioen up a position then and up into 11th. Next up on the chase for Griffioen will be Ben Goyette in 10th place. So work to do, and trying to chase down every position matters here in this series. It's been so much about consistency and consistently being at the top side by side. Just behind that for 13th, that's Cudmore and Tanyol-Kar having a good little battle there, as that's Cudmore just about holding the position, the Canadian, but Tanyol-Kar, Club International, could be anywhere that's not an iRacing region, but just not quite there. And if I had to make a guess, I'd say Club Turkey, I would say Turkish nationality, but that's me just trying to put a guess. But Tanyol-Kar, not quite in a place to be able to get close enough just yet.
Yeah, wasn't quite able to get the move done, and he's going to have a bit of pressure from Edu Villa from behind as well, so he wants to try and catch back up to the car of David Cumwell. He's going to need to get a very good exit out of here, which he has done, and it's looking like he's going to be able to draft back up towards David Cumwell. We're actually seeing a little bit of damage on Emir's car as well on that front wing, so possibly going to be having a little bit of a straight line here.
Absolutely. Ben Fuller goes fastest again, 112.242. It's a very quick lap around this place, and you go through it at the blink of an eye. Wide goes Tanyol-Kar in the background there of shots. We had focus on Cudmore, and this could put Daniel Carr under pressure here, heading towards the next section of road. That's Edu Villa trying to find a way through and hoping there's going to be a chance. Defended hard to the inside. Some Noah's Ark Racing as they're too wide, too deep almost. And again, trying that outside line doesn't seem to be the case. You look behind, John Pat Kelly here. TQ getting some team orders working here, allowing the move to go through was John Pat Kelly. Trying to work out who that was just going on by him there. And that would have been Jan Stratinsky going through. Another little look to the inside. Daniel Carr takes the big wide line, but again, holds the place.
Yeah, nice defensive driving here from Daniel Carr to hold off Edu Villa, who's trying everything he possibly can. A little bit of a lock-up from Edu Villa and runs a little bit deep, but yeah, it's really a lot of pressure from Edu Villa at the moment, and Daniel Carr's gone around.
Oh, just like that, a big 360, able to keep the engine running and keep going, but look at how much that has cost. Now back with Steve Giori, all the way back in 20th position, soon to be 21st place as they go side by side up the hill through the Skidados boxes and Archibankadas, and now this is the run towards the front stretch. But look at this, second, third, fourth, Usher, Sanfilippo and Lindsay right back close to each other once again. The gap to the front now, 5.8 seconds. And I do want to point out as well that Sam Fitzpatrick has got through on Tamas Shane up into 8th place. But Danilo Sanfilippo looking, and where has Ben Lindsay gone? He's lost a boatload of time.
Yeah, had a bit of slide on the exit of the turn 4, I believe, so very lucky to manage to hold on to it, but he's cost himself dearly, and this has allowed Sanfilippo and Usher to get a little bit of breathing room back to him before the car of Benjamin Lindsay comes back fighting, and Jody Mill's not too far behind Lindsay here as well, so if Jody can just hold on to that draft, he might be able to get pulled along by Lindsay here.
Exactly, we've got eyes on Edu Villa though. The mid-pack has been incredibly strong in the early stages. That's Benjamin Lindsay, Club Georgia, 4th position out on track, and really that has cost him a little bit, but able to bring that gap now still within 1.2 seconds. The bridge between the divide, it's 1 second back now to Jody Mills and Benjamin Lindsay, and it's those small mistakes in this series that have cost so many drivers. We don't see many massive accidents from those at the front. We see those little corrections, those small mistakes which cost a second here, a second there. They do bites, as Ben Goyette here has, I believe, dropped a fair bit of time down to 13th place.
Yeah, and that car's not looking too healthy either. He's got some massive left-hand down issues. He's actually had a bit of a shunt as well on the exit of turn 2 as well, just lost the rear end.
In the wall, and that will be a tow back to pits for Ben Goyette. No way to recover the car back with that much crabbing. We'll catch a replay. How did this one all happen? Going down the hill through turn 2 and gets a snap of oversteer and effectively puts himself like Enrique Benaldi there in the wall. Thank goodness there wasn't a safety car there, because that would have meant that a safety car door would have been hit by one Mr. Nick Heifeld.
Yeah, certainly. It was a bizarre moment that day in history of Formula 1, but nevertheless there was no safety car, but unfortunately Ben Goyette's day is probably more than likely done based on how damaged that car is, unfortunately. But Mike Usher still coming under pressure from Danilo Sanfilippo here, is trying everything he possibly can to close the gap down to Mark Usher, but just can't quite seem to do it.
No, absolutely, you're right there, Cam, because you're seeing Mark Usher here just staving off Danilo Sanfilippo. The gap half a second now. This could be any one of a number of reasons right now. One could be that the dirty air effect is playing a huge factor into the way this race is going here, and Danilo Sanfilippo's got nothing he can do. Another factor is maybe he's just biding his time, waiting for the pit stops, making sure that life is as easy as possible. I want to look back to 7th place for a moment, because Alex Ahoya here is under pressure. Sam Fitzpatrick has been right on the back door for a number of corners now, and for the moment here, the Iberian has got to worry about your teammate, Cam.
Yeah, he certainly does. Sam has actually been putting in some really, really good laps in these past few laps to close that gap down to Alex Ahoya, and he's actually matching the pace of currently those at the front of the field with the likes of Sanfilippo and that. He's done a 13.1, so it's by no means slow, but he's not quite within the 12s yet, but still very, very solid pace at the moment. So expect to move it within the next few laps, I reckon, and he should be able to catch up with Clayton McLeod if he can get on by.
Absolutely, and that's going to be the key, just trying to get that one place and then move on to the next driver, start attacking. Don't worry about the driver behind. Out on track, Ben Fuller just set another fastest lap and has broken the 112 barrier, and that's going to be really interesting, because at this rate of knots, Ben Fuller's winning by 48 seconds with Steve Giori. Gets down the inside of the trying to recover Emir Tanyo Cal, and just about for this stage, Giori holding up, doing enough. No DRS in these vehicles, but they do have Kurt as they go on. You can see Tanyo Car trying to get close enough and not quite there just for the moment, and just needs to go a little bit quicker to get back through with Giori. Both of them have lost touch to the group in front.
Yeah, they certainly have. They're holding each other up a little bit, especially Giori, who's just trying to hold on at the moment, and Tenniel Card goes very deep, nearly running into the back of Giori there. So Tenniel Card very, very aggressive and trying to find a way on by, and clearly has a bit more pace than Giori does at the moment.
Absolutely. Giori then, who has gone through actually on Tanyo Car, trying to get on and moving forward. There is Edu Villa in 16th place, trying to chase down Tobias Rona there in 15th overall there, and can't quite get close enough to make that a reality for the time being, but time is still of the essence. We're on lap 10 now here at 48. These drivers just about starting to go on to lap 10, and that pit stop window probably is opening sometime in the next 7 to 8 laps, around lap 18 maybe, the right place to come down in, make a stop, get back going again. This track though is surprisingly good for fuel economy, I think, for a number of people, as Sam Fitzpatrick again close to Alex Ahoya up the hill.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly good for fuel economy, and it's actually quite easy to fuel save around here as well, just based on the fact that you've got so much undulation and a mistake from Ahoya, and that's going to allow Fitzpatrick up the inside. Great ease, although Fitzpatrick runs very deep, and Ahoya has managed to get on back by for the time being.
That was a case of being very much eyes bigger than the belly. Saw the mistake, got down the inside, but the one thing you have to do when you make a move like that, Cam, is actually slow the car down and make sure that you have everything working. And now Ben Fuller here, I just want to keep an eye on that gap. It's down to 1.3 seconds all of a sudden. That was nearly 10 seconds at the front, if not. So Ben Fuller, I think, has had a massive moment that we haven't seen on camera.
Yeah, he's had a big moment. He's done a 1:20 last time by, so I'd say that's a spin, and he's done it coming out of the hairpin as well, just all on his own, no contact with the wall or any lap cars, so he's been lucky to get away with that, but it's lost him a chunk of time, and it's brought him back into the likes of Mark Usher.
Well, it's those sorts of margins. There's second Mark Usher, there's third just behind Danilo Sanfilippo. So immediately here, a bit of lap traffic as well. That's not going to help. That's probably Christophe Mons that they're trying to find a way by, and just about they all manage it. But that is a very uncanny mistake from Ben Fuller there. A spin at the hairpin. Ben Fuller's been someone who has not made those mistakes. We haven't seen a mistake like that from Ben Fuller in a number of weeks.
Yeah, we certainly haven't. He's been pretty flawless over the past few weeks, has been for, and he's been practicing all week as well and done some very, very quick laps. So surprising that he's actually made that mistake where he has and done it so easily too.
Well, that's not really made life any easier for Mark Usher here, seeing that gap close down in front, because all of a sudden Danilo Sanfilippo is pretty much chasing hard. There's Benjamin Lindsay in fourth position, hard to the inside immediately here goes Mark Usher. Danilo thought about going to the outside, that didn't work. Sam Fitzpatrick trying to get through now on Alex Ahoya, and he's not quite found it just yet, but here's the next chance, and look who's on the back. Tamas Shane, the Pennsylvania man, trying to find a way by. Big cross of the beams on the brakes, trying to go around the outside. Contact between the pair, and off into the runoff area there goes one Mr. Sam Fitzpatrick. If this was an early 2000s run, that would have been all gravel.
Yeah, it certainly would have, and it would have made life a little bit difficult for Fitzpatrick, who's just launched it up the inside of Ahoya again, and they're going to go side by side through the big sweeper, but Ahoya's going to come out on top, or maybe not, as Fitzpatrick's going to keep his nose there to stick it back up the inside at the hairpin, and again, they're going to stay side by side here for a number of corners.
Oh, this is fantastic battling, but it is Alex Ahoya who holds it through Mejulio there, this long left-hander, and now into Junsao, the junction corner, and up the hill once again. Get to the end of the lap, so this is going to be a crucial little fight that's going to be continuing on here in this one. And look at Tamas Shane here, trying to go around the outside here on the run to the front stretch, and this is going to be key. There's nothing there for one Mr. Alex Ahoya, and immediately defense becomes offense because Fitzpatrick's around the outside, and he's got the move done, and that's taken a whole lap and a half to get it done, and it's still not over.
Yeah, it's certainly still not over. Ahoya coming back at him on the exit of turn number 2, and it's going to be back to the outside. Fitzpatrick goes defensive, but he's going to hold on to it for the time being. And Chamashane is just sitting here watching this going, oh, and no part of this.
Absolutely not, and you can understand why. All of this battling is really holding them up, because that is Ray Griffio in 10th place, now only under a second behind them. So they're all closing in here on these drivers. Joel Dickinson as well. So this is suddenly a pack which does not want to be one to fight for, as Fitzpatrick now tries to make the unenviable task of breaking away, and at the moment it's working. Ben Fuller's got the bit back between the teeth. He's just gone purple again with a 111.9. He's doing well. It seems like Usher's starting to break away from Danilo Sanfilippo, who's now got mirrors full of Benjamin Lindsay.
Yeah, it certainly does have his mirrors full of it, Lindsay, at the moment. And Sanfilippo possibly also saving a bit of fuel as well while he's been behind Mark Usher as well, to just try and help him in that pit stop. But Lindsay really closing in rapidly at the moment compared to Sanfilippo. And the fact that Marcus checked out has really not helped Sanfilippo as well, as he's lost a bit of draft.
Absolutely, and that draft is key in these sorts of vehicles. You've got a big, long, fast section up the hill at the end of the lap where that draft becomes so key. Sectors 1 and 3. Sector 2 is the technical, the tricky section, and this is why it's always a question of going low downforce or medium downforce around this place, because that middle sector is so tough to get right if you've not got the right balance underneath you.
Yeah, it certainly is. It can make getting on that power, getting the car rotated very difficult, as Benjamin Lindsay makes another mistake of just getting a slightly sideways there and struggling to get onto the power back to 100% throttle. So it's cost him a little bit of time there to Danilo Sanfilippo, but they'll be able to close that down rapidly. And actually, Sanfilippo's closed back up to Mark Usher as well.
Yep, that gap now half a second here, and this is what Danilo Sanfilippo does well. He picks and chooses the moments to go out and be aggressive. He manages the race incredibly effectively, does Danilo Sanfilippo, and it's the sort of NFL quarterback moniker where some say that you've either got a great arm or you're a game manager. Someone like a Tom Brady is a game manager. Danilo Sanfilippo is a game manager, as Alex Ahoya now has to try and get back here at Sam Fitzpatrick. Can't quite get there in the Kronos car.
Yeah, not quite close enough to make a move that time by, but he's still reasonably close, and they've been actually a little bit close for the last lap or so, with the fact that Sam Fitzpatrick made a little bit of a mistake halfway around last time by. So it's helped Ahoya close that gap back down, but still going to have to try and find a way on by as Ahoya, as these two have definitely been close quarters for majority of this race.
Absolutely, they have, as at the moment Alex Ahoya is just not doing enough to get himself into position to just make that move, as there in front of them is a lapped traffic vehicle there. That's Steve Giori, who they'll have to try and navigate by pretty soon, I would have thought, in terms of this race. But we're on lap 16 of 48. We're effectively a third of the way through this one, so pit stops effectively open from this point onwards, and drivers prefer to pit late though, Cam, in these sorts of races, mainly because fuel overrides the advantage of tyres.
Yeah, certainly the lighter car very much the advantage in these shorter races where you've only got to do one pit stop, so it's just better to run the tank dry and then fill up as little as you possibly can to get on home and have that nice light car with those fresh tyres to help you extract maximum pace out of this car.
Yes, and it's all about that extraction. You've got to get as much as you can out of it. Look at Danilo Sanfilippo once again, though, here in third place, trying to get by Mark Usher, who effectively has the lead of the championship, has done so by putting the most best results together. Ben Fuller's been the fastest man this season, and look at that! All over on the striped layoff area, and again, not going in for that pit. He's trying to defend everything he can. Danilo's going to go to the outside here of the center S, trying to get it done like Michael Schumacher and one Pablo Montoya. The inside of turn 2, and Usher's in the fence.
That's not going to be the way that Usher wanted to finish this race, and his car is crabbing, and that's going to be race over for Mark Usher, unfortunately. And it was just very minor contact, just hard racing, I think, with how close they were together.
Well, let's get a Motor Simulation replay. It looked for all the world that it was defend from one Mr. That is Mark Usher. Had the inside through turn 1. Danilo Sanfilippo around the outside, and Danilo's trying to angle out to get some form of turn in for the next corner, but Mark Usher was having none of it, and he paid the price for it.
Yeah, certainly. Really, really unfortunate there.
Dickinson.
And that's Dickinson going around as well from a spin. No, actually contact from Tamashane.
So that's all you need to know. Shane was dropping backwards. Joel Dickinson trying to get on by, and Tamashane come together with Joel Dickinson. Of course, there's no race stewarding here. Anything that does need to be stewarded has to go to Nim Cross over at iRacing headquarters in Massachusetts. So that's going to be worth keeping an eye out on, see if anyone wants to put the old protest in. But Jacob Oberslack there in 13th place. A manic last lap and a half or so as Ben Fuller's gone even quicker, 1:11.740. So now all of a sudden, into the pits then is Mark Usher, and I would say his race is all but done if he has suspension damage, and if that is the case, then that is one of the 4 drop rounds in this series that he will have to have used at this moment.
Yeah, certainly, and it's going to be a hard-fought battle from here on out to try and recover those lost points as well, with the fact that all those drop rounds are pretty much DNFs as well. So that's a lot of points that he's had to sacrifice this season, and it's really not going to be helping him in terms of a championship fight here.
Oh, hello. Straight on went one vehicle, and spinning goes that one vehicle, I think. That is, yes, Tobias Rona there running into a few troubles and just getting the car back into a nice position. Went off the road at 1. Here's Adam Webb, though, in the meantime, trying to get by. I believe that's Robert Plumley. So these are the 2 Grip TV cars then having a good race, and it's just like that. Robert Plumley has to cede to Major Adam Webb.
Yeah, they pretty much just handed Webb the position easily with the fact that he was up the inside. So Plumley going to sit behind the other Grip TV car. I guess you'd say they were teammates with deliveries, but nevertheless, he's going to try and at least follow Webb through and use him as a bit of a tow rope, I guess you'd say.
I've just had a look at what Mark Usher's just put in the in-race communications. Danilo, you're expletive useless at racing. That tells you all you need to know about how frustrated Mark Usher must have been after that incident, as Plumley's gone for a big moment at Jun Sao, gathers it up together, puts himself under pressure then from Emir Tanyol Car, and Tanyol Car in a car gets by the other car.
I think it's fair to say that if we didn't know better, Robert Plumley was trying to do the moto layout there for a moment, but nevertheless recovered it quite nicely and will lose the place to Amir, who's managed to get on by and is currently on a recovery yet to pit, I believe. So we'll see what he does when the pit stops come around.
Exactly, lap 20 of 48, the halfway stage coming up very, very shortly then in this one. Inside of the next 5 laps of this event, Ben Fuller has gone fastest, 1:11.740 in this one. His lead now back out to 10.3 seconds over Danilo Sanfilippo, who's been given that license to go out there and race. Benjamin Lindsay has stayed well, and I just want to keep an eye on Jody Mills here all of a sudden, because through all of the battling, he's now dropped back into 5th place, but this is Matthias Eckstein on screen in 13th, trying to get close to 12th to Jacob Oberslack.
Yeah, he's going to try and do his best to close that gap down. Not quite going to be close enough this time around. Doesn't get a good exit either compared to Oberslake, who gets a much better run, but he's going to have a slight little bit of draft to help him close that gap down ever so slightly. But again, he's going to have to wait another lap if he wants to get a move done.
Yep, and that's the key. There is Clayton McLeod in 5th place, and Jody Mills has dropped 8 seconds here in this one. I'm sure there was a mistake somewhere for Jody Mills. Was close to the back of Benjamin Lindsay earlier on in this race, but now through the traffic they'll siphon. You cannot miss that chrome Clayton McLeod car. As on the brakes he goes up the hill now from Jun Sao and all the way back on forward. Now looking to try and get something happening here. Jody Mills has definitely got pace, but the key here for Clayton McLeod is just trying to stay within a range to go out there and attack. That draft is such an equaliser here for Clayton McLeod if he's not got the outright pace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be helping him really a lot at the moment, with the fact that he's sort of struggling for a little bit of pace, although Jody Mills is 2/10 slower that last time by, so maybe Mills struggling with a bit of tyre wear here, and with the fact that he's losing a bit of pace and has lost a bit of time to Clayton McLeod over these last few laps as well. So I didn't really notice any sort of mistakes from him around the last few laps.
18. Lap 18, a 1:19 flat, and I'm just going to try and catch it to see exactly where it all went wrong. He was trying to lap some traffic coming out of Ferradura in towards the Pinarino, and he just looped it all on his own, a half spin. So that's why Jody Mills has lost all of that time. But this is Edu Villa right now on screen, looking to try and get through on Matthias Eckstein, who has struggled over the last couple of laps, and Edu Villa has an opportunity to look at the inside, potentially pick up a position, and not going to be there just yet. But this is all about building up that momentum to make that mistake happen and get that place.
Yeah, certainly. Just applying the pressure onto Matthias Eckstein as much as he possibly can to try and force a mistake is the best thing that he can do at the moment. Is Eckstein really struggling there through the corner, and he's going to be really coming under a lot of pressure. So possibly the pressure starting to get to Matthias Eckstein, and locks up again that inside front. So Edu Villa now all over the back of Eckstein here.
Absolutely, and this is going to be crucial. We're talking about pit lane, though, just for a little moment, as Edu Villa continues to try and find that move and has some big technical issues as he goes on through, hopefully able to find them back again. There's Jacob Oberschlack in 12th place. That pit entry is going to be so difficult because you go from well over 300 kilometers an hour, and you've got to try and break it down to just 88 Ks with an uphill braking zone. It's so easy for the back to step out and for things to go wrong, and it can so easily be a nightmare on pit lane.
Yeah, it certainly can. Although these cars having very, very solid brakes, a lot of downforce, it doesn't take a lot to stop these cars from the rapid pace that you're traveling at to down to 72 kilometers an hour that the pit lane speed limit is. But nevertheless, it still makes it quite challenging as you're trying to go in there as quickly as possible without getting a speeding pit lane penalty, and you can end up either too short or you end up overshooting and you end up with a penalty. So it's really just a matter of trying to figure out where's the best spot to try and brake without losing too much time, but also not getting a penalty.
Exactly. Clayton McLeod is there in 5th place at the moment, still looking at the back of Jody Mills at the moment in 4th place. Jody's had a couple of podiums so far this season on SimSpeed TV broadcasts and could have any number of opportunities to go out and gain a few more this season, and maybe if something goes wrong for someone in the front three, might have a chance. Edu Villa still stuck behind Matthias Eckstein, though, by the way, and still not finding it, but Villa's going to decide to come down in on lap 22, lap 23, and make the stop. So we'll have one of the later pit garages to find his marker. He will go and slow down to a stop. He'll go up on the fronts and on the rears and should come back down pretty shortly and should be off and away in just a moment's time. And just like that, there he goes. And that's how quick a pit stop is when it comes to these vehicles.
Yeah, certainly. 4 tyres within a few seconds, and then obviously that little bit of extra fuel to put into the car. So you have to wait longer for fuel than you do the tyres, actually. So it does make you a little bit worrisome if you have to take a lot of fuel, but nevertheless, it's a matter of just blink and you're done.
And it's just like that when it comes to these vehicles. Clayton McLeod again, similar sort of gap to deal with at this stage, and this is the worry that I think that he's looking at here, is that he's not going to get by on circuit. He may just have to go and look at it here in terms of getting this one done in a different scenario. Ben Fuller leads this race by 12.5 seconds over Danilo Sanfilippo. Benjamin Lindsay a further 2 seconds back in 3rd place. Jody Mills 4th place, McLeod 5th is the battle on screen. Sam Fitzpatrick is in 6th position, 2 seconds clear of 7th place Alex Ahoya as Adam Webb gets by Matthias Eckstein without any issues at all. It's Ray Griff-Yowen in 8th place, Tamashane in 9th, and David Cudmore at the moment holding the 10th place position. No drivers inside the top 10 have made their scheduled pit stop as of yet, and they're all going to be looking to try and get themselves to about lap 34, I would say, in this race before they absolutely must make a stop. It is mandatory because they'll look like Rubens Barrichello if they're not too careful and run out of fuel. Yeah,
certainly. A fuel tank restriction basically means that you can try all you like to try and make it to the end on one tank, but it's just sadly not going to happen, unfortunately, not without losing a huge amount of time and ending up probably going more than one lap down. But yeah, you've got 5 drivers so far who have pitted, the likes of Giori, Nielsen, Moniz, and Strutinsky, and also Vela, all the only pit stops at the moment, although Shane and Cardamore have just come into the lane, so a few more people coming onto the lane to get their pit stops out of the lane, try and use a bit of an undercut strategy here.
Absolutely, and it may just be worth it if you're trying to pick up a position here or there. There's two philosophies: go to the tank or split the stints up 50-50, and that can very often be a very good way to keep yourself out of trouble. Shane is out and away in 13th place. Cudmore, for example, is down in 15th place. They're split by a Tanyol car in the middle, but this is the battle right at the back of the pack right now. Christoph Mons has to let go here because was fighting with Jan Stratinsky, who's a lap down, can't get close enough, and it's easy. Race leader, though, is down on the lane, and that's Ben Fuller.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that he's coming as early as he has been full with the fact that he had such a big lead. Jody Mills also down on the lane too, so a couple more people coming down onto the lane, but Ben Fuller will come out in some nice clean air. He's actually just going to clear Edu Villa, so he's going to have plenty of clean air to get some nice, decent laps in again.
And that's crucial here in terms of getting that pit done and dusted, miles ahead of Clayton McLeod, and there can't be any real fusses about that from Clayton's perspective. Knows he's already a pit stop back, but now Ben Fuller can just go out there and try and race his own race from this point onwards. Danilo Sanfilippo will take a lap in the leading book then, just for the time being in terms of this race, and they'll just try and be really, really careful with how they go and negotiate the next stage of this one. So Clayton McLeod here, not having much luck with the lap traffic either, Cam, and when the rival he's racing with has come in and pitted early, that's not ideal. Danilo Sanfilippo has come down in onto lane, so I think that puts Benjamin Lindsay then on the front of this field, and it absolutely does. Car 1, because he has the most I rating.
Yeah, certainly does. With the amount of iron he's got 6,300, which compared to everybody else is nearly 500 clear of the likes of Mark Usher and that. But yeah, nevertheless, Benjamin Lindsay currently leads this race, yet to pit as well as McLeod and Hoya, who currently sit in probably the top 3 at the moment. But Ray Griffin comes down onto the lane as well. So a number of people starting to really use that overcut strategy.
Oh, there's a car there that does not look very pretty there behind one Mr. Ray Griffin down on the lane. Jacob Oberslack at the moment coming through and is still yet to come and make that stop. So this is all about trying to pick up a position here and there. And Shane is behind Joel Dickinson, I do believe, out on circuit. So that is a lost place, I think, to Joel, who I believe has come down and made that stop. So Tamas Shane with work to do over the course of this stint. Now remember, Shane was ahead of Joel Dickinson before the pit stops, and in fact they had come together. So if that's the case where the pit stops have come and gone and Joel Dickinson has got himself back out in front again, that's not going to be ideal for Tamas Shane. And they see there in the mirrors Benjamin Lindsay continuing on the race. The gap 6 seconds between himself and Ben Fuller as we take a look at Matthias Eckstein.
Yeah, Eckstein currently trying his best to get some decent laps, and he's not too far away from Adam Webb, who's just up there and nearly actually loses the rear end as well. So Eckstein can put some nice, clean, consistent laps, and he should be able to close that gap down to Adam Webb. But nevertheless, Eckstein still actually yet to pit, I believe. Yes, he is. So he's going to have to come down onto the lane at some point to get some fuel and tyres, and it's looking like he's not going to do it that time. But it looked like he was, but not quite going to be this time around.
No, not going to be. We've got another taker down onto the lane. I believe that is Jacob Oberslack, who's finally bit the bullet and decided to dive down in. Now, here is Shane trying to find the move then. Trying to get it as fine as you like in towards turn number 1. Shane was, and he's gone a little bit deep here, so Dickinson has a chance to get back, but Dickinson can't quite get there. Looking for more here as they start to pilot away around, and this is awkward here for Ben Lindsay, the race leader. He may have to go straight through the middle, and well, is he going to do it on the brakes? They have a license to battle, but look at how much they're holding up the leader right now.
Yeah, he's getting held up massively in a slide there from Lindsay. This is not going to be helping Lindsay, and he's going to be very, very frustrated with the fact that these two are battling as hard as he is, and he's losing so much time as well. He's probably lost at least 2 seconds already at this point. It's probably going to be 3 by the time he comes around, and if he doesn't pit this time around, he's going to be not going to be having a good race at this point.
Absolutely. Joel Dickinson desperate to hold the position. And, well, Benjamin Lindsay will be silently seething after all of that. Sebastian Vettel are one of the biggest championers of blue flags, and they can see the gap. It was up at 6.6 seconds a lap or so ago. It's now down to 4 seconds. And look at this, Jody Mills and Clayton McLeod. They're side by side at the moment as they head up towards Ferradura. Double apex right and around the outside with superior grip. It's well held by Jody Mills, but McLeod down the inside trying to pick this one back up. The Pinarino is one of the lowest points on the circuit, but just like that, Mills has it done.
Yes, certainly does. But McLeod has just come into the lane as well as Mills runs wide. And McLeod's going to have nice fresh tyres at this point. Probably going to be slightly heavier than Mills is, but those nice fresh tyres are going to play into the hands of McLeod as the laps tick on by. And McLeod losing a little bit out on the exit there, but he's going to be having the draft. So if he can close the gap up nicely and then hold on and get a nice good draft into turn number 4, he should be able to get the pass done.
Well, it's all about setup here for Clayton McLeod on the brakes through the left of turn 1 and the right of 2, the Senna S. Now you've got turn 3, the long left-hander. They have the Curve de Sol, the sun curve. And look at that, immediately defensive there. And narrow goes Jody Mills and is able to just hold on to that gap for the time being as they hit the brakes, go through the left-hand bend of the Interlagos 4 and 5, and ultimately positions stay as they were. So McLeod with a lot of work to do to try and find those places once again, but this is a very, very long battle now. Just 18 laps when they cross the line. Benjamin Lindsay still in the race lead. He's going to go as long as he can on that fuel, but it's all about that battle coming up.
Yeah, it certainly is all about the battle that is coming up and whether it's going to, well, what's going to eventuate of it and who's going to come out on top. It's really anybody's guess, but nevertheless, it's going to be quite the battle that's going to be coming up as Plumley currently not too far off the back of Emil Tenor car here and is trying to keep that gap as close as he can get, well, as big as he can as Amir, but Robert Plumley slightly quicker that time around, well, actually quite a bit quicker as well. So Plumley on those nice fresh tyres going to be using them to his advantage.
Daniel Carr was one of the first drivers to come down in onto the lane and make a stop. We've seen a lot of Daniel Carr in the early stages of this race, so a lot of work to do then in the second half. We've had a handful of retirements as well from this race so far today, and those are 3 drivers: Ben Goyette, John Pat Kelly and Mark Usher, and I believe Kent Nielsen has just become the 4th as well. So Kent Nielsen also out of the race, meaning we're down to 20 runners then here in this one, with Benjamin Lindsay out in front. But for how much longer with Ben Fuller chasing down with a stops advantage? The answer is not long anymore, because that is Benjamin Lindsay down on the lane, and that is Ben Fuller now in control of the race as he wants to be.
It's actually quite surprising that Lindsay's actually left it as late as he has, after losing so much time behind that lap traffic as well. He did a 1 minute 14.8 when he lost all that time, so 2 seconds compared to what he was running prior to that, and he's only been doing 1 minute 13s as well in those last few laps when he's been when he managed to get on by. So he's lost a little bit of time here, but he's not too far off the back of Danilo Sanfilippo. He might have actually closed in a little bit of time.
He has. That's 0.4 of a second only the gap. So that's a very similar situation to this one for 4th and 5th place. Mills again takes the big narrow line out of the Curve de Sol. And it's all about adaptability there for Clayton McLeod. He's got work to do, as does Jacob Oberslack right now, who's going to try and find a way by on Joel Dickinson and is nowhere near close enough just yet to make that move a reality. But in his final 16 laps, you can see from a lot of the battles here out on track cam, there are always 1v1s at this stage, which means that it's going to be about, okay, it's a dogfight from now to the end.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's going to make things very much all about just focusing on that car ahead or behind and making sure you can hold on or hold them off or get on by at some point as the laps are ticking down. Not too long left in this race, but yeah, at the moment it's just 2-car battles throughout the field, and really it's going to be a matter of just picking and choosing when you want to make the pass and how early you want to get it done as well.
How about now? Oh, Benjamin Lindsay had a thought, and it was just that, a thought of the inside, angled to the inside of Danilo Sanfilippo, and did not find the opportunity to make that happen. So up the hill through the double apex right. Danilo here is under pressure from Benjamin Lindsay as they fight. It's been a long time since I've seen the colours of TNT Racing out on circuit. Of course, they used to have a massive Skip Barber contingency, a good Formula 1 contingency as well, but now Benjamin Lindsay's really got to put that pressure down and get as close as possible, because you can see the sort of issues they've got here, and it's the lap traffic variety. Look at Lindsay take the power up the hill, out of Junsao, through to Skida dos Box, Arki Bankidas, now to Skida dos Boxes, and let's go 3 wide on the front stretch, why don't we? And this is going to be key here. Lindsay on the outside, trying to get this move done for second place, and Danilo Sanfilippo holding on that inside, has got to be careful and leave enough room, and takes the outside nicely, and there's the checkup from Lindsay.
Yeah, he got very squirrely, did Lindsay, and it didn't help him on the exit as well with how close it was to possible contact between himself and Danilo Sanfilippo. But nevertheless, some very hard racing between these two drivers.
Side by side, and now the gap is 1 second. That's what one mistake looks like here when it comes to the Williams Toyota FW31. Only 8 drivers on the lead lap at the moment. Ben Fuller is 19 seconds clear of that fracas that we have just seen. You can see right now Ben Fuller, after that opening mistake, has just gone head down, and it's thumbs up from that point onwards.
Yeah, it certainly is. And he's just going to put his head down and focus on the job ahead of closing that gap back down to Danilo Sanfilippo. Does Benjamin Lindsay, but at the front of the field, Ben Fuller is just running away with this. He's putting in some incredibly quick laps, just consistently in the 1 minute 11s. Everybody else is in the minute 12s and 13s. No one has been able to match him for pace.
No one's been able to match him for pace for the last 3 rounds of this championship, from Okayama all the way to Sebring, and then, of course, here to a wonderful Interlagos circuit. This mid-part of the season has been Ben Fuller's, if not for the fact of that disconnect earlier on in the season at Okayama when he had full control of the race. But that's why you don't count your chickens in this series. But now this becomes a case of everybody trying to hold a margin here and hold a margin there. Jody Mills and Clayton McLeod, that gap now almost a second. Same for Sam Fitzpatrick and Alex Ahoya. That gap now 0.6 of a second. I'll give credit here to Alex Ahoya in 7th place. He's done well to keep Sam Fitzpatrick in the sight.
Yeah, he certainly has. It's been putting in some nice, clean, consistent laps as the car of Alex Ahoya, and he's just been keeping that gap nice and consistent. There's only 0.2 difference between the two of them last time. By Ahoya slightly slower, but yeah, he's just been putting in the nice laps to keep that gap to a nice consistent amount, and he's actually done the same lap time 2 laps in a row, so the consistency is clearly there in Ahoya.
Well, you can't get any more consistent than that. You'd struggle to, around this place, get any closer than that in terms of consistency. Keep an eye on Ben Lindsay, though, once again. That gap's down to 0.2 of a second at that battle for 2nd and 3rd, as Ahoya is close, but not quite there. The gap now down to 0.1 of a second between those drivers, but again, not close enough for Lindsay. But Alex Ahoya right now is just looking, and that's all he can do at this stage is look. He's nowhere near close enough.
Yeah, it's not quite close enough to get a move done at this stage. And Sam Fitzpatrick's actually pulled away a little bit as well, with the fact that he's 0.2 quicker as well. So if he can just keep this pace up, Ken Fitzpatrick, he's going to be able to just slowly pull away from Alex Ahoya and manage to come away with a P6 here. But Benjamin Lindsay all over the back of Danilo Sanfilippo, and he's going to have some nice draft on the exit onto the front straight. Sanfilippo getting very loose as well. So Lindsay here is going to be at a great advantage with the fact that he's got a nice, good exit, and he's going to have a nice lot of draft.
Absolutely, and there were 2 wiggles from Lindsay, which could have compromised the run. Goes the long way round again, trying to make this one happen into turn number 1. Danilo Sanfilippo's got nothing on the brake. And there goes Danilo Sanfilippo into the Armco, and the same way that Mark Usher did. Oh, how karma, how vengeance comes back, and Mark Usher's voodoo doll has clearly worked.
Yeah, it certainly has. And Sanfilippo also looks like he has suspension damage as well. So unlucky for Sanfilippo. And like you said, karma does bite, and it bites hard sometimes, unfortunately. So Marcus is going to be rubbing his hands together and smiling with a very big grin on his face. But that's put Benjamin Lindsay now up into second place here. And it's also promoted Clayton McLeod onto a podium.
And that's Clayton McLeod through on Jody Mills. So we completely missed that in everything that's been going on. Clayton McLeod is through on Jody Mills. So they've changed places and changed places a couple of laps ago. So where did that all go wrong then for Jody Mills in terms of Jody's race? The answer was it looked like a mistake. And I believe Daniel Carr now is also out of the event. A slowdown potentially for Jody Mills, it may have looked like. They're losing the place. But Sam Fitzpatrick now into fifth with one driver in now in the form of Danilo Sanfilippo. That's big. That's two of the main championship contenders getting 0 points from this race. Now that puts the banner fully on Ben Fuller to capitalise.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a nice, good round for Ben Fuller with the fact that both of his championship rivals are out of this race and again not going to be taking a nice haul of points away from this race, but he's going to have a few others who are going to be capitalizing on this mistake of the championship rivals being in the wars, and it's going to be helping the likes of Clayton McLeod, Mills, Fitzpatrick, all who are a little bit down the order, but going to be scoring some nice, decent points here.
And it's those decent points that are so vital. It doesn't matter how much iRating or safety rating you have. It's a case of just getting up there with good scores, and it's drivers like Benjamin Lindsay actually that really help these drivers in the mid to late pack, because with more drivers like Benjamin Lindsay with higher iRatings in the field, it gives more points for this race.
Yeah, it certainly does, and it's probably one of the highest strength of fields we're going to have this season as well. It's currently a 3,141 soft, so it's not far off one of the best softs that we've had so far, but it's definitely going to be increasing those points quite nicely.
Absolutely, and that's going to be something worth keeping in mind as drivers will try and score as many points as they possibly can. Softs do tend to tail towards the end of the season, but there is a massive core of drivers here in this series, and they will look to try and put as many points on the board as they go on through. Now, this is Adam Webb in 9th position with David Cudmore just in front in 8th. They're the first of the drivers, one lap down in this field, and the Grip TV car wants to get through on David Cudmore sooner rather than later. Cudmore, a driver who has gone leaps and bounds in terms of his development, was someone who was knocking towards the back of the field just 6 months ago. Now he's staring at a top 8 finish in this race.
Yeah, certainly is. He's been doing everything right in this race, and he's really come a long way in the last few weeks as well to be up there near the pointy end of the field. He's not quite on par with the likes of Ben Fuller and Sanfilippo and those, but he's definitely come a long way since and is challenging for some decent results now. And likes of Cudmore and we're both fighting very, very hard here, and Webb's going to have the advantage of the draft and is going to look to the inside of Cudmore here as they head down towards turn number 4, but Cudmore's going to hold his own around the outside and going to stay with that position. No, not quite. Webb's going to take the shorter route up the inside, and Cudmore's going to have to concede.
Yeah, Cudmore, there was always an overlap there, and that's one of the few things that drivers do have a tendency to make that slight mistake with. You get hearing with the spotter, you're still there. You often overcompensate with how much room there is on that inside, and that's the one thing that David Cudmore has to learn about. Just getting a little bit more aggressive when you hear that still there, because it was only the front wing that was alongside.
Yes, certainly, and you don't really want to cut the guy off or end up causing a bit of damage to your own car as well. So it's really just a matter of making sure you're listening to those calls and even watching your mirrors as well to make sure that where they're going and whether they're still beside you or behind you and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, and here with just a handful of laps to go in this race, it has been a case where the front seems very much decided. If I told you right now that there'd be a 50-second gap between first and third place, you'd bite my hand off really, Cam, over that sort of statement. But right now, it's this battle going on 11th and 12th now. Joel Dickinson has kept that margin well. There's Benjamin Lindsay trying to get through on all of this, and he's got to get through the train. Obraslack, then Dickinson, then Tamas Shane.
Yeah, he's certainly got a number of cars that are a lap down ahead of him. But that said, all he has to do at this point is just cruise home to get the points and get the result that he is. He's got a nice large gap back to Clint McLeod. I mean, McLeod's only just coming through the first 2 turns now, whereas Lindsay's only pretty much halfway through the lap. So all he needs to do is just get past these cars nicely. He doesn't need to rush it. He doesn't need to take any risk. He just needs to find a nice, clean way on by and just secure the second place finish.
Exactly, and that's the key. Benjamin Lindsay's racing for fun at this stage, and second place he will certainly take to the bank. There is no shame in the fact that he's in second place with the highest iRating in the field. He'll still gain on everything that's going on. I've just saw on the timing tower that Sam Fitzpatrick is now behind Alex Ahoy, and I wonder if something has just happened off screen that we haven't seen. There is Sam Fitzpatrick getting up to speed. He's lost 6 seconds. It looks like it could be a spin.
Yeah, he had a spin coming out of turn 4, just got on the AstroTurf on the exit and lost the rear end from spinning the wheels up. Very, very easy to do, and luckily did not actually hit the wall, got very close, but no contact and just only time lost by the looks of it.
Well, we're going to have a look at it here. Motion simulation replay under no pressure from behind, and there goes Sam Fitzpatrick. Alex Ahoy would have had all his Christmases come at once with that sort of spin. A nice flick spin to get back going again. Sam Fitzpatrick back down in 6th place. Oh, you feel that those sort of things, those are the things that get you a top 10 or even a top 5 when it comes to championship pushes like this. And the key here for Sam Fitzpatrick needs to be consistency from now to the end of the season.
Yes, certainly does, and he's had some decent results in these last few weeks as well. So if he can put it together for the rest of the season, he should have a pretty all right championship position come the end of the season.
Let's hopefully go back to live then in just a few moments' time. Only 6 drivers then on the leading lap then for this race, and Ray Griffioen has just gone down 1 lap then overall. Sam Fitzpatrick is not a million miles away from being lapped at the moment. It's a very short lap around this place. He's about 9 seconds clear of the margin that he wants at the moment from Ben Fuller. Now, with this sort of form that Ben Fuller has, here's my next question. How on earth are you going to stop Ben Fuller over the next set of races, Cam, when he's putting 20 seconds on the field every single time he goes out and races?
That's a very good question you pose, and the answer I honestly have none for, because the guy is just so quick. I mean, the only way he's really going to be beaten is if anybody quicker than him shows up, and yeah, at this point, you're probably talking about former iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series drivers, the likes of Lindsay, the likes
they're not working.
Yeah, even then, it possibly wouldn't work. So it's just anybody's guess as to what's going to happen.
Exactly, and Ben Fuller's done very well. My philosophy in theory is get by him at turn 1 and make him fight for it. That's the only way I can see Ben Fuller ever being stopped at this stage of the season, and this has been a wonderful, wonderful drive so far, and long may it continue for the final 5 laps then of this race. Benjamin Lindsay 2nd, Clayton McLeod in 3rd, and at the moment, the North American Peninsula has a lockout of the podium, Cam.
Yeah, they certainly do, actually, which is a little bit awkward considering who's in here, but nevertheless, the Americans will happily take that victory and that top 3 lockout for sure. Yeah, that too.
Absolutely. As they continue on and have their run, it has been a very clear, open and shut case over this one. Joel Dickinson, though, does push a little bit too far deep then into the Pinarino here as we look at this battle for 10th, 11th and what should be 12th place as well. But Joel Dickinson here, he's got enough of a gap to Oberslack to only focus in front, and that gap is agonisingly at a second.
Yeah, it certainly is at an agonising amount of time because he'll have the draft, but he won't be close enough to use it to its full potential, get a move done either. So, unfortunately, he's going to have to try and work his way forward on his own pace, basically, instead of having some sort of advantage, whether that be draft or a mistake ahead from Shane, although who knows what can happen with the fact that there's 5 laps to go.
Exactly, and you've also got to talk about what's going to be happening here, Cam, in 1 week's time here when it comes to SimSpeed. They're going to a street circuit, they're going to a bumpy street circuit, they're going to Detroit Belle Isle.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be quite a fascinating scene to watch, to be honest. These cars didn't handle Sebring particularly well with the fact that it's quite bumpy there. So kind of looking forward to Belle, but kind of not to see what sort of racing is going to be produced. But it's going to be all about just survival of the fittest there rather than outright pace, because those concrete walls are going to be very close, and one mistake is going to end your race very, very quickly. So it's just going to be a matter of making sure you can keep it out of the walls, especially if you're someone like Mark Usher or Ben Fuller, and you don't really want to be losing points there if you've used a lot of your drop rounds.
This is Rogerio Galhago at this stage trying to get around Robert Plumley, the Grip TV driver, at the moment, and cannot do so at this stage. First time we've seen Rogerio out there on circuit so far today. He's had an incredibly quiet run in the mid to late, pretty much around the back of the pack, but is in at that 18th place, trying to look for 17th late, and lap traffic effectively is not helping him. He's being lapped at stages, which is compromising any chance of the battle.
Yeah, certainly is. He's getting caught up by with the fact that he has cars constantly lapping him here, there, and everywhere, and it's not really helping him close the gap down to the car ahead of him, of it, Robert Plumley. But the fact that there doesn't really appear to be too many, well, he's got a nice little bit of a gap here back to Sam Fitzpatrick at the moment, but again, really hasn't been helping him, these lap cars.
Absolutely not. That was Ben Fuller who just went through and now has 2 laps to go as he tries to chase down Alex Ahoya to put all but 4 cars a lap down in this race, and it's about to happen right about now. Is going to go to the inside. Alex Ahoya there on the outside, and that is as easy as you like for Ben Fuller with only a couple of laps to go in terms of this one. It has been a Sunday drive again on a Saturday for Ben Fuller, and he knows again and again and again that it has been the Ben Fuller show. We saw at the back end of last season, Cam, how many times he started to put the results together, and this is why everyone was worried coming into this season that Ben Fuller could do it.
Yeah, certainly. He's shown he's got some very, very good pace, and we saw glimpses of it last season with the few results that he had, but he's definitely stomped his authority this season and has really put a championship charge together and is doing, well, is in the best possible position to use it as well.
We're heading towards the last lap. There's Jacob Oberslack in 12th position, trying to get on close to Joel Dickinson in 11th. That gap is close, but I don't think that's close enough just yet. That's going to have to require some mistakes out on circuit to see those moves. Little lock up there into the Ducks Bill, the Beaker de Pato, and down through Mahulo and over towards Junsao. There are the worries that go on here for those in the battle on the final lap then of this race. Ben Fuller, with 24 seconds to play with right now, has all the time in the world at disposal, but Oberslack, you can see that gap a little bit too far back, and there's not much that you can say in terms of how this race is running for those fighting for a top 10 position. It does not look likely that we will see that change of places. Ben Fuller, though, for comparison, where he is out on circuit, he's heading through Mahulo right now for the final stages, and this has been a case of fantastic nurse. Oh, it's gone wrong. It's rule 1 of sim racing. You don't hit your teammate and he'll be able to get it going. I'll have to let everybody back through, but there is something that should be sparing the blushes going on towards the end. You do not hit your teammate. You do not take advantage all the way to the end. Ben Fuller's still going to pick up the victory as he crosses the line for the Ben Fuller show. But rule 1 of sim racing will come on screen. Ben Fuller's got the race win. But, oh my goodness, that could have ended so badly.
Yeah, very much could have been in favour of Benjamin Lindsay. Had the impact been large enough and damaged the car enough, and had there actually been any more laps, it probably would have actually been in favour of Lindsay if there was actually any damage on that car. So that's not ideal for Ben Fuller at all, but nevertheless still came away with the win, and he'll still happily take those points.
Nearly got ran into from behind as well by Rogerio Galliero there, so that could have easily have been a disaster. There's Ben Fuller over the line, taking the race victory. It was Benjamin Lindsay in second, and Clayton McLeod a long wait for third place. He's only just finishing now over the line. Jody Mills there in fourth place. We're still on Motion Simulation Replay for all of this at the moment. Ahoya and Fitzpatrick gained back their lap, but Fitzpatrick ruining the spin that he had earlier on here in this race. But Cam, that is still the Ben Fuller show despite 2 mistakes.
Yeah, certainly was the Ben Fuller show, to be honest, and will not be surprised if it is still the same thing from here on out to the end of the season. As he's put on some fantastic performances, he's shown he's got some incredible pace, and I don't think there's any way anyone's going to beat him at this stage. It's just pretty much just going to be a matter of who can out-qualify him, and if they can, whether they can hold him off for long enough or not.
Well, there's a lot of work to do for those who are looking for big results in this series, but the mid part of the season is all of one man. So let's get official classified results then up on screen for you, ladies and gentlemen, because that was pretty much plain sailing. Ben Fuller spares the blushes, and it will be a little bit sheepish coming over the line to take that victory from Club Indiana. He beat a former World Championship Series driver in Benjamin Lindsay comprehensively, costing himself 20 seconds in the race and still winning by 14 seconds. Clayton McLeod finishes it in 3rd, making it an all-North American top 3, and for NA fans, they'll be incredibly happy about that. Jody Mills, the first of anybody else there in 4th position, was only 4 seconds behind McLeod come the end, with Alex Ahoya in 5th place, leading home Sam Fitzpatrick, who spun late in the event. Ray Griffioen is the first driver a lap down, with Adam Webb, David Cudmore, and Tamas Shane rounding out the top 10.
And you're going to have Joel Dickinson in 11th, 12th to Oberslack, 13th. Is it going to go to Matthias Eckstein, Edu Villa in 14th, and Tobias Rona rounding out the top 15. 16th, Robert Plumley, Jens Strutinsky coming home in 17th. 18th to Rodrigo Galhiego and Christian Monis rounding out the top 20 with Steve Chiuri. And then you got your retirees, Danilo Sanfilippo, Mia Tenoi, Kent Nielsen, Mark Usher, John Pat Kelly, and Ben Goy rounding out the top, the 26 car field.
Exactly, and it has been a long, long battle, a lot to unpack, especially the rivalry now between Danilo Sanfilippo and Mark Usher. Karma coming back to bite Danilo Sanfilippo after contact, which took Mark Usher out of the race. Exactly the same place took Danilo out of that scenario, but we are out of time here with SimSpeed TV. In a little under, I would say, 10 hours from now, maybe even 9 hours, we've got ourselves some Scops action on the iRacing Esports Network. We're at Virginia International Raceway, and it's going to be a treat that you do not want to miss, because the series is as wide open as ever. A massive thanks to Motum Simulations, though, here for the replays, from Scott Fountain, Fonty on the cameras, with one Mr. Cam Dance alongside me on my left-hand side. I've been Jake Sperry. The Ben Fuller show had its thrills, had its spills as well, and no driver could cleanly walk out of Interlagos today in terms of the title fight, saying that they absolutely owned it. The margin was impressive. It was absolutely flawless in terms of a built-up gap for Ben Fuller and pace, but hitting your own teammate, spinning early on, those are mistakes that need to be ironed out. For Mark Usher, for Danilo Sanfilippo, they've got to stay away from each other, or their championship, that will fall by the wayside so very, very quickly. The streets come up next. Belle Isle is the next place, and for those who know how difficult Belle Isle is, one small misdemeanor is a race killer. We'll see you on the city streets.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?